Hello everyone, just getting myself organised as usual, having lots of issues with Zoom this morning again, trying to get on, but we are here. Welcome to everyone who is jumping on to this webinar this morning. So I am going to get started. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring up a PowerPoint presentation and hopefully be able to also have a chat box going in the corner. So anyone who's watching on Zoom, please ask any questions. Anyone who's watching on Facebook, if you want to come over on Zoom to get the PowerPoint presentation and the recording, please do. So let's get started. So we're recording. Good. I'm going to share the screen. And hopefully we can open the chat. I had problems with having the chat box open last week while I was doing this. So lots of changes happening on Zoom and places like that. Okay. So welcome to another Monday morning musing webinar. For those who don't know, I'm Sandra Madafferi. It's great to have you here. And this morning, I wanted to talk a little bit about 5 steps to changing your mindset. These are actually 5 steps that I've been using for a little while to change my mindset, to help me, you know, especially when I'm in a situation happens or something happens and I get very triggered, or I'm in a what I call a funk mindset, and I need to sort of change that mindset, or begin not so much to change it quickly, but begin to understand what it is that's going on. Because let's face it, we need to become more aware of what is happening for us rather than moving and shifting things away. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is that you cannot solve a problem using the same thinking that created it. So unfortunately, one of the things that we do, and something that I did for a very long time, is that when you get yourself into a funk mindset, or you're feeling down, or something happens, we constantly try to change the situation or solve that problem, that situation, that mindset with a thinking that we had the same time as when we created it. So this does not work. We have to think outside the box. That is the only way that we are ever going to be able to change anything in our life, is to be able to do some things and some different things that can put us outside the box. And I remember someone saying to me once that unfortunately the instructions on how to get out of the mindset you're in, or get out of a situation that you're in, are always written on the outside of the box. So we can't see that writing, but what we can do is begin to move ourselves around so that we can take that box off. So for anyone who is watching on the webinar, please, I highly urge you to, I have got the chat box up. It seems to be working well today, sorry. So please jump on and ask any questions that you might like. So why is changing our mindset so hard? So it's not easy to do, and this is something that is a bit of a misconception that I find, that people comment or discuss changing of your mindset like it's something that you can just click your fingers and there it is. It's a little bit harder than that. I personally have found that it can be a little bit difficult, and you know, sometimes you go back into that old mindset no matter how good things have been, and no matter how you know, how you've been thinking and what's been going on. And the 3 brains theory, it's called the 3 brains theory, is, you know, the reason why it can be so difficult sometimes to get out of that mindset, to be able to change the mindset, to be able to move forward. And I just want to touch very quickly on the 3 brains theory. So we have, first of all, the human brain, the logical abstract thinking. You can see in the diagram across the top. It's in a sort of a brown, but we actually call it the grey matter of the brain. It's the neocortex. It's 40% of the brain. And that is our thinking brain. That is our logic, what we call our conscious thinking brain. The blue part is what we call the limbic brain, or the limbic system. And that's our part of the brain that sets off our emotional responses. Then we have the reptilian brain, which is the oldest part of our brain. And in there, we've got what's called the amygdala. The red part, or the orangey red part that you can see in this diagram, is called the cerebellum. Now, what happens is when we have a thought, that thought creates a chemical response in our body. That chemical response in our body goes up to the brain through that limbic part of the brain. And what happens here is that limbic part of that brain says to the whole brain, yes, this is something we have experienced before. It's normal. And so what happens is you go into what we call auto response, where that orangey part of the brain called the cerebellum kicks in. So what happens is, of course, if over time you've developed a repetitive behavior, or you've developed repetition of responses, the brain will automatically, without you thinking, go into that auto response, and bang, when something happens, it kicks off, and you create the same behaviors in the morning, you create the same sort of things that you do, and it's normal and natural. And of course, the same things happen over and over again. Because people often say, how do you remember to be you? Well, this is how you remember to be you. You wake up in the morning, your brain has a thought, kicks off that biochemical response. The limbic brain says, yes, this is normal for us. And then the same thing happens over and over again. So just by looking at that, you can see that what we need to do to change our mindset is that we have to change the way we were thinking. So you change the way you're thinking, that goes down into your body. You have an emotional response to that. Chemical reaction goes back up to that limbic brain, and the limbic brain says, this is not normal. This is not what I'm used to. And with that happening, you then begin to have a very unpleasant feeling in your body, because it's not normal. And this is what we call basically getting out of your comfort zone. So this is why changing your mindset can be hard, because it will take extra effort, and it will take more energy for you to break that repetitive behavior of what you're doing now. And in order to be able to change your mindset, you must break that repetitive behavior of what you're doing right now into something different. So let's have a look at what we can do. Again, please, guys, anyone who's watching the webinar, if you have any questions, please ask. Okay, so once we begin to break these repetitive behaviors that we're constantly doing, which are producing the same results for you, the same mindset, the same way of thinking, whatever that is, how do you get your partner on board? Well, Susan, you can't. It's up to him. All you can do is shine your light, show the changes that you've made, and hope that he might say, I want to know a little bit more about this. You cannot make anyone do anything they don't want. So when I get that quite a bit, that's a very good question, because I get that all the time. All you can do is be a shiny beacon of light and show your changes, and hope that then they want to ask you, how did you do that? And they get curious, and then they want to do what you did too. But you know, you can maybe leave some books and things around if they pick it up, but I found that you cannot make anyone do anything they don't want to. You can only change you and hope that then they follow suit if they want to. I wish I could give you a better answer to that. So just keep being you, keep changing, change your mindset, change your things, and hopefully he'll see your change and then want to know a little bit more. So like I was saying, creating new neural pathways, that is what you need to do, because right now when your brain fires off, you've created a certain neural pathway that keeps creating the same behavior. So what we want to be doing to be able to change your mindset, which in turn will change your behavior, your reactions and things like that, is to actually create new neural pathways. And by putting these 5 steps that I'm going to give you in place will allow you to begin to create these neural pathways, but you must become repetitive. It says, the science says it's 21 days to create a new behavior. I think that sometimes it can be a lot more than that. So you just have to keep doing these steps until you see a difference, or you realize that all of a sudden, which is what happened to me, you're no longer behaving the way you used to when a similar situation happens, which is what I did. I actually didn't realize the change. There was a lot of people noticing it, but I didn't notice it until I was in a situation where I had to stand up in front of 88 people to teach something. And I didn't go into full-fledged panic. I can't do this, and not being able to breathe, which is what I used to do before. And I went, whoa, what's happening here? And that's because I had actually created new neural pathways. But because it's you, you don't always notice. So I hope that answered your question, Susan, as well. Okay. So what's the first step? The very first thing you need to do is acknowledge your thinking and your emotions. One of the biggest problems that I have found with people trying to change mindset, trying to change behaviors, trying to change things, is that they push things away. If you push things away, it actually becomes worse. It is really important that you acknowledge your thoughts and acknowledge the emotions that go with those thoughts. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with what you're thinking or what you're feeling, but you need to acknowledge and understand yourself in that capacity first before you can change anything. And here's just a little phrase or sentence or statement that you can ask yourself that can help you acknowledge what's going on. So when this happens, whatever happens for you, I think and then I feel. Okay, so I'm just going to use a scenario here. When my children leave their dirty clothes in the bathroom, I think they don't care about me, or else they would know that I need the clothes put in the laundry, and I feel really sad. So ask yourself, when this happens, what am I thinking and what am I feeling? And start to become aware of your thinking without judgment. This is not to say I'm right or wrong. I shouldn't be. I always say the shoulda, woulda, coulda. You shouldn't be doing anything. You shouldn't be thinking anyway. Whatever you feel is absolutely perfect and correct for you. The next thing to do is challenge your thoughts. And what I mean by challenge your thought, that thinking, like I gave the example before, I think that my kids don't care about me. Is that real? And that's the first thing you need to ask. Is it real? Is that thought that you're having around that situation real, or is it just a reaction of yours, or an old way of thinking, or is it connected to something else? Is it real? Now, my children leaving their dirty clothes on the bathroom floor does not mean they don't love me, but that is how my brain works, and that is my default response to that. So number one, challenge that thought. Is it real? And ask yourself, is that a real thought that's going through my head? The next one is recognize your triggers. Recognize what situations trigger you and understand why they trigger you. So my children leaving their clothes on the bathroom floor is more a trigger because I'm overwhelmed. I've got a lot of things to do. I'm tired. It could be a multitude of things. In fact, I don't have any kids at home anymore anyway, so I'm just using a scenario. But what is it that has triggered me into thinking that they don't care about me because they leave their dirty clothes on the floor? So recognize your triggers, and where are those triggers actually coming from? Okay, so like I said, it could be overwhelmed because I'm feeling too busy. Maybe I'm doing too much, all those sorts of things. The next one is revise what you would like instead. So to use again, I want to use exactly that scenario again. If I walk into the bathroom and my children have still got their clothes on the floor, what would I like to do instead? Okay, what I would like to do is not think that they don't love me. And what I would like to do is to call them and say to them, you know, I've got a lot to do. I would really appreciate if you could put your clothes in the laundry hamper. Or maybe another solution is get a laundry hamper and put it in the bathroom, which is actually something I did when my kids were little. But what would you like to do instead, and how would you like to feel instead? So ask yourself this. So what we're doing here is we're not just interrupting what we already were thinking and feeling, but now we're going to put into motion something that we would like to do instead. So what would you like to think, and how would you like to feel, and what would you like to do, rather than my kids don't love me, I feel really upset, and yell and scream, and then they don't listen to you anyway, because that's what teenagers do. So I wanted to just add this for everyone who is on the actual webinar. This is the emotions wheel. One of the biggest things that I have that people have an issue with is, what emotion am I actually feeling? And the emotion that you're feeling is actually in your body, and it's not an emotion that you're thinking with your head. And I just wanted to put this up here because a lot of people get the emotion that you're thinking in your head confused with the emotion that you're actually feeling in your body. So if you say, I'm angry, but you're angry, but you're thinking it rather than feeling it, because you might be feeling something else. You might be feeling sad. So this is just something I want to put up here for people to have a look at. Number one, to understand what emotions are, rather than states of feelings and thoughts that they have in their head. And also too, because I said, what would you like to feel instead? You can have a look at this and have a look at where is something that you would like to be instead. And if you have a look at, we've got some really great in the yellow section and in the purple section, lots of emotions that you might want to replace the angry with. And maybe you might want to, you know, might want to be surprised. I want to walk into the bathroom and go, oh gosh, shock, they've left their clothes on the floor again. So what would you like to feel instead? So this is just a little resource I wanted to add. Step 4 is review the whole situation, review how you're going, if it works for you, when we replace and try it out, and then add some new strategies. And one of the strategies that I might want to add is, one, I might want to put a laundry basket in the laundry and in the bathroom, sorry, and ask the kids to put their clothes into that basket. Maybe I might want to talk to them, and rather than yelling, which used to be my old strategy, talk to them and tell them that I get upset because I feel very overwhelmed and I need some help. Could they help me? All these sorts of things. What new strategies? And review. And what I mean by review is it working for you? Do you need to add some other things? Do you need to add some other strategies in to help you keep calmer? What is it that you need to do when these triggers happen and when a situation happens? What strategies can you add? And here's a few that I've just come up with. You can breathe without fail. Breathing, stop and count. Take big breaths to about 10 will calm you down very quickly before you react in any way that you usually would react in the past. So if I would walk into the bathroom, see the clothes on the floor, start screaming, what I want to do is interrupt that. So walk into the bathroom, see the clothes on the floor, and breathe for 10. Okay, so that will interrupt what I was doing before, because what we're changing is changing the same patterns and behaviors. And then you might want to review it, because you might want to add something else in once you've got that one down pat. The other one is some journaling. Journaling is great to always understand how you feel, what's going on. And if you're reacting to a situation which is causing you a lot of angst, being able to journal it out is absolutely brilliant, because it gets it out of your unconscious mind and allowing yourself to see what's really going on. Meditate. Is also a great way. Sit and meditate on a problem. I mean, I've used a very low level problem here because it's easy to explain, but if you've got something that's a little bit of a high level problem, you might want to use some meditation to help you see what other resources do you need, or how can you handle this better, or what's actually going on for you. Meditation, there's a lot of science behind it, so it's absolutely brilliant. Go for a walk. If you're in a situation where you're about to explode and you're finding yourself, you know, unraveling, go for a walk in nature. It always helps. Or talk to someone who you can trust, someone who you know will be able to give you a very objective way of handling this situation for you. And step 5 is action your new thoughts, action your new resources, action your new strategies. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So it's great to have all this theory behind it, but you have to start doing some things, changing some things, and doing what these new things, including doing the stopping yourself from reacting by taking breaths, meditating, whatever you need to do to calm yourself down, to stop you from doing the completely same things that you were doing before, and unraveling, and that repetitive thought chemical response that's going on, that's creating that mindset for you. And when you do these actions, you have to repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, and repeat it. Takes 21 days to create a new habit. So it will take a minimum of 21 days to create a new neural pathway response to things around you that will then create a new normal in your mindset for whatever situations are getting you down. And whether they're situations that, you know, are something like just dirty clothes on the bathroom floor, or even when it comes to your own thinking about past situations. Because this is not just about changing your mindset around something that happens right there and then on the spot. This could be also, these 5 steps can also be used if you get into patterns of downward mindset spirals around things that have happened in your past. Okay, so that is it for me today, guys. I hope that helped. If anyone here on this webinar has any questions, please let me know. I'd love to know if anyone has any questions. I'll answer your questions. If anyone would like to reach out, if they need any help with anything like this, that's my email, that's my phone number. You can also contact me on Facebook or anything else like that if you need any further clarification. Thank you for watching again today, guys. And remember, whether it's your life, whether it's business, whatever it is, if you can always stop yourself from doing the same things that you were doing before, through being able to change your mindset, you will create different behaviors and different outcomes. And it's really important that if you find that you're in a mindset situation that is just not working for you, you need to change and pattern interrupt what you're doing at the moment to be able to create these new neural pathways, which will then create a new way of being and a new mindset for you. So that's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you at 10 a.m. next Monday morning when I bring you another one of these webinars. There's lots of other things going on. If anyone's interested, jump in. We've got a challenge in the Abundance Activator groups for business people this week, creating an intentional business. I've got a couple of other workshops and things coming up. So I will, if anyone wants to know more, just reach out, jump on my mailing list, and I will send whatever you like out to you. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here today and watching the webinar. I will stop sharing the screen now if I can get anything to work. And you will all get the recording of this very, very soon. So thank you for everyone who jumped on today. I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Bye for now.